everyone. My name is Claudio Ippolito. I work as a Chrome customer engineer for the Benelux region. So that is Chrome Enterprise. Basically, I am the technical consultant customer engineer for customers and partners. And I'm here to help companies adopt Chrome Enterprise. Yeah, that's what I do. So, with Chrome Enterprise, you could get, for example, one of the things that the solution offers to you is, of course, the Chrome operating system, right? Chrome Enterprise is basically the management. It unlocks the management capabilities for you to deploy Chrome OS. So that is Chromebooks that run the Chrome OS operating system in your company. So within the Chrome operating system is of course, the Chrome browser. And you can manage from the admin console. So all the management is done through the cloud. You could manage, for example, safe search policies. So safe search is a service by Google that basically what it does is it keeps an eye on the web and it informs users if a specific site is malicious. So for example, in certain phishing campaigns, it tells you, oh yeah, click here, and then you're redirected to this malicious site and you get that red ominous warning. That is actually the safe search engine on the back alerting you. So you as an admin can configure what happens then. So as a consumer, like in our private lives, when we're using the browser, sometimes you have that option that says, proceed, I know what I'm doing, or take me back to safety. So you can configure that as an admin, like what happens there. That is like on the Chrome Enterprise and amongst things, but definitely in the broader scope, the intelligence that Gmail has embedded on it. So if you use it in the enterprise version within G Suite for your company, for sure it has an extra checks in place to prevent the arrival even of such emails to you. So those are some of the things you can do. On the Chrome Enterprise side, like with the operating system and safe search, if the user wants to click on that link, of course, if safe search has detected that site is malicious, that can be your first barrier. That's one thing that you could do. But then it's usually up to the back end, let's call it like that, so G Suite or whatever service that you use, to detect and trace that campaign within your domain. Yeah, so that's also another point. So when we think about security, a lot of emphasis is taken in on the backend and services, but we still a lot of companies do not, they see the endpoint in the, let's say, more classical way, as in like, okay, I buy an endpoint that is not Chrome OS, it's something else. And then what I do, it comes with this image, and then I add several applications on top to make it secure, to harden it. So you add your antivirus, you add your backup, data backup capabilities, you add your VPNs and so on and so forth, just to try to harden it up until a point that you consider secure. So that doesn't stop. I mean, it could be that an app gets installed and does some modifications to the OS and becomes malicious, starts to do malicious activities. And in Chrome OS, what we do is actually the operating system. So if you manage your devices with Chrome Enterprise and you use Chrome OS, you can set the operating system in a mode that we call verified boot. So in verified boot, what we do is that we basically check that the OS has not been compromised by, let's say, a malicious app or software that just creeps in the OS and modifies it, because the OS should be read-only, right? The OS is just read-only, thus nothing should write on top. Yeah. And when you initialize this OS that should be read-only state, then we know as we boot what we expect in terms of signatures. So if we boot specific section, we check, okay, this is the signature that we expect, nothing has been changed. and so on and so forth. So that's something different, right? The malicious apps or software cannot modify the OS itself. And if it does, this verified boot process will catch it up. And if that happens, we actually boot a second image. We have 2 images on the machine. So we just, okay, this one is compromised, let's boot the second one. And we do the same check. And if that fails, then we just ask you to insert a recovery image to get the device back in shape. And after these checks have been done, then actually the user data gets decrypted, and then the user can start using the machine. So it is like a completely different thought from a security point. So those apps are also like the processes that run on Chrome OS are sandbox isolated. So it's a different mindset to it. So that's why we consider it a different completely perspective on what security from an endpoint point of view is defined. That's why we also say that with Chrome OS, you do not really need an antivirus because of that. Like the OS is read-only, thus why would you need an antivirus in something that should not even start to run? And as well, of course, if you tied it up, so this is a cloud-native device. So if you combine that with a online productivity suite, like for example G Suite, then you have an excellent solution because the endpoint can be always in this verified state. It's integrally okay, right, all the time. Plus, all you do is online in the cloud, let's say on G Suite. So then you really have the best of both worlds at your fingertips and on the back end. Actually happens all automatically. So if you turn on a Chrome OS machine, it actually takes around 10 seconds for it to just be ready for you to log in. And the same checks happen on those 10 seconds. Also, a good point that you just reminded me of is like the point of updates. So, of course, best practice in the security space is to always keep your devices updated and all your applications, etc., to the latest versions, because they come with security patches. And in the case of Chrome OS, this just happens automatically from the cloud. So you're using your computer, like I am now on Google. I use a Chrome OS device. I just work, no problem. And then if there's an update, it just gets downloaded on the back, applied, and then I just get a notification saying, "Hey, it's ready to be updated." So you click, and then you restart on this new version in also 10 seconds. So you as an admin just don't need to do anything for this to happen, and the user really doesn't notice. Yeah, no, completely. And if you think about all the complexity that you're leaving behind, because in other systems you need to think of, okay, images I need to deploy, then I need to create those images, test all the apps to see if something is, if something broke in the update, update my antivirus software, update my backup and recovery systems. If you use Chrome OS and you use an online solution, then it just gets out of the way. You're ready to do your business.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely they should think about, in my opinion, obviously, each case is different, but overall, not leaving the endpoints behind. That was what I was referring also at the beginning. Like we think of all these back-end solutions and things you can put on the classic OSs, right, to make them secure, etc. But then you invest in all, the cloud area, and you use a classical OS, a legacy OS. So think about also what your users are going to be faced and are going to use at their fingertips daily. So if there's a different and interesting way of doing it, like the one that Chrome OS presents, consider that. Consider that we now work everywhere. A lot of people are productive truly just at the phone, indeed. So that phone, a lot of the things it uses is actually all in the back end. You're just accessing it through the phone. There's hardly anything really happening in there. It's always communicated with the network. So you also have something similar in Chrome OS. It's a cloud native endpoint that just gets out of the way. You can manage it completely from the cloud. It has security embedded on it, and it can allow you to get the benefits of the cloud to your fingertips truly. And it also helps you to transition to a cloud native workspace, if you may. So a lot of companies, for example, tell us, all right, we really like what you guys are talking about, but I do have, constraints of the apps my user needs. So not everything that I use is already in the cloud. It's available through a browser, because Chrome OS is a cloud native endpoint that works best with native apps, native web apps. So anything that you can do through the browser, then Chrome OS is perfectly suitable for it. You cannot install applications like what you do in Windows or Mac. So we tell them, all right, good. As you consider migrating this, let's call it legacy applications that need to be installed to the cloud and offer it through the browser, you can consider, having a section of your users within the company already adopt Chrome Enterprise. It can be, let's say, marketing, it can be sales, it can be customer support, etc. Like those pockets that don't need that specialized or legacy applications, that they can already be productive in the web. Then you can migrate those, and as you transition, then keep adopting the cloud native endpoint that Chrome OS is. That is a good one. Again, it really depends on every organization and their needs, definitely. At least on the Chrome OS end, the best tips and tricks to stay on top of the latest is, for example, to subscribe to our release notes. There we mention all the updates to policies and the OS that are coming on each release of the OS. Think about, at least in the Chrome OS end, we have several policies depending on what you need, right? What you consider to make yourself stand up and align to your security requirements. So for example, if you want your managed devices to only be accessed by domain users, you can set that policy. If you want to restrict the types of apps that users can install and which apps to pre-install them with, you could do that. If you want to have managed networks and just use those networks in combination with certificates for an added layer of security, you can do that as well. Enforce the verified boot policy. So those are really solid things that you could do to, let's say, improve your security posture. That in itself, like with Chrome OS, is already pretty good because of what we discussed previously, like the read-only OS, verified boot, sandboxing, isolation. Those already put you in a very good spot.
Okay.
Chrome Enterprise is that combination of the managed Chrome OS plus Chrome browser that can really set you up in an interesting security position, all managed through the cloud, which is, go about and go along with your day truly. It not only is Chrome OS, as you mentioned, you can also manage the browser and set up browser policies from the cloud. And this is not only limited to Chromebooks, so not only limited to Chrome OS. We can also do that with Linux, Apple, and Mac. Apple and Windows. Okay. You can manage those browsers through the console as well.